Welcome back. We're talking about the security plans for charter schools here on the Suncoast. Joining us for more is the principal of the Sarasota Suncoast Academy, Steve Crump, and the executive director of the Sarasota Military Academy, Christina Bowman. And I wanted to ask both of you this question. Christina, you can tell us first, what are your two schools at right now when it comes to school security? School starts in about a month, but where do you guys stand right now?
Well, I believe that we've had a focus for the past 5 years on school security, and we've been proactive in that manner, making sure that our hardscapes are in place. We have fencing that's in place. You have to buzz into the offices for the security. We've had plans in place, crisis plans in place as well, but also focusing on being proactive, looking at the social, emotional status of our children and making sure that our faculty and staff know how to reach out to children, know how to recognize any mental status changes with the children. And we also have moved forward in making sure that we have cameras in place on our campuses, both campuses, and those are monitored at all times as well.
Okay, and what about for you, Steve?
I think for us, we're looking at different options. I think the key is to have choices. I think the Guardian program is one of the pieces that is absolutely a choice for us. Law enforcement as well, whenever we make those choices for what's best for our school. I think for every charter school it's going to be different due to location. We also have a strong character ed program. It's an approach to teaching that we do. A lot of it's proactive. So I think that's a key component, is not necessarily reacting, but being proactive in those pieces so that some of the issues that have happened in schools around the country don't happen at the schools here in Sarasota.
Certainly. And before Parkland, Christina, what was security like at your school, and has there been a significant change in that?
I can honestly tell you the only change is moving forward with the mandate. And that making sure that in good faith effort, when our students enter our campuses, that we've made good faith effort to make sure that we've met the mandate. We are looking at a combination on our campuses. We have participated in the Guardian program as well, but we're looking at choices, as Steve alluded to as well. Not much has changed because we've had such a focus in the past on making sure that our employees and our students are safe and secure on our campuses.
All right, thank you. Well, we are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on charter school security will continue after a quick break. Welcome back. We're talking about the security plans for charter schools here on the Suncoast. Joining us for more is the principal of the Sarasota Suncoast Academy, Steve Crump, and the executive director of the Sarasota Military Academy, Christina Bowman. Now, Steve, I wanted to ask you specifically, how do charter schools of these pay for these types of measures when it comes to safety? I know that's a big issue for both of your schools, but I'd like to hear what you have to say.
A lot of it comes out of our base allocation that we get from the state of Florida. For students, according to the number of students that we have. There is an allocation that's set aside for school safety. It's minimal.
Okay.
I think ours was $17,000 last year, and for next year it's $40,000. A school resource officer runs around $135,000. A school resource SRD2 runs about $62,000 to $64,000 is kind of the preliminary numbers. So you can see that's a big shortfall in what is funded from the state and the amount of money that we've been given for that.
Right, and then how do you make up that difference? Or will there be an increase in tuition fees for parents who are already possibly paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for their students?
So the greatest thing about charter schools is they're public. So
Okay.
it is free to go to our schools. So we can't charge tuition. We
Okay.
can't charge for that safety piece. How we make up for it is by cutting programs, by coming up with additional funds. There's lots of different ways. The Giving Challenge, some of those pieces allow us to free up money for safety and security. We're hoping the district will share some money with us. Again, those are some considerations that go into hardening our buildings and making sure that we have safety needs met that meet the mandate. The traditional public schools have that mandate, and so they have more resources, more money to meet those. And in the past, they have shared that capital with us to be able to, again, harden our campuses as well. So we're hoping the district will take that vote. The school board members will take care of all public school students. And that's what charter schools are. They're public school students.
Okay, and for your for those school resource officers that you said there's that huge gap in pay and the money that was given to you all, have you guys met that payment or met that amount that you will be able to give to those school resource officers, or are you still struggling to find the money for that?
So we don't have school resource officers. We haven't had those this year.
Okay.
When the district provided those for the district schools, we did not get provided those. We did have officers that came by. It's going to take, for a school our size, we have about 700 students next year. It'll take us about 4 years to get enough funds to pay for a school resource officer.
All right, and for you, with the Sarasota Military Academy, is it the same thing, similar to that?
We have the same similar problems,
Okay.
and again, we moved forward with the Guardian program just to make sure that we were meeting the mandate, but that also gave us time to look at some options available to us, look at some budgeting items as well, because there is a large cost to that, but of course there's a mandate, so we will meet that mandate, but we'll, more importantly, make sure that our campuses are safe and secure.
And what was the process for you all when it came to selecting guardians?
What was the process? It is, of course, as Sheriff Knight alluded to, it could not be an instructional individual. It has to be an individual who was willing to do that, and it was, they had to come forward. We couldn't appoint anyone. They had to come forward and agree to participate in the program.
And will their training be similar to that of the training that the school district is having for the Sarasota County School District when it comes to those guardians and school resource officers, or is there a different program that you guys will be implementing?
So I can speak towards that. Our
Okay.
Guardian program is about 144 hours.
Okay.
3 weeks of that is on the gun range, and so they're getting proficient. I believe we had the ability to qualify at instructor level, so not just a new recruit level. The Guardian
Okay.
had to qualify at that instructor level. So I'm not sure what the district training is going to be. They're creating their own police force, and so I'm not sure who they're consulting with that, if it's with the sheriff or if it's with their own internal police director. So we can't really speak to whether or not our Guardian training is even close to what they're doing, more or less.
And we've seen this kind of back and forth ping pong with the sheriff, the school district for months now. Have you guys been involved in any of that conversation, and how has the sheriff maybe responded to the charter schools, perhaps the school district? Has it been as much of a headache as it has been for both of those entities for you all?
Headache, I wouldn't say it's necessarily been a headache. We're trying to figure out what we're doing at our campuses, and so I think we're concentrating on that. We've had conversations with the district with what they're doing. They're saying that they don't have the ability to provide those for us at this point, that in the future they may, or they may not. As far as Sheriff Knight goes, he's trying to give us options. And so providing that Guardian program, providing the training for that is a great option for us when it comes down to securing our campuses and making sure that safety is the utmost. If kids aren't safe, we can't educate. So security has to be our number one. And so from that standpoint, we're doing what we need to do to make sure that that takes place.
And also, when the mandate came down, Sheriff Knight reached out to the charter schools because he knew that we were not going to be invited to participate in the law enforcement office that was being created. And so we commend him for reaching out to the charter schools and coming to us to say, here are some options that are available and how can I assist? So we're very appreciative about that.
Okay, and you know, before Parkland, do you think we would be talking about school security to the extent that we are if it wouldn't have been for the large amount of lives that were lost? I mean, school security obviously still a thing before Parkland, but to the extent of the state mandating these requirements and people talking about it more than ever, do you think that would still be a topic?
I think the short answer to that is no. That, you know, before Parkland, it wasn't as much out there in the public. I can speak for schools. We've talked about security for years and years and years. And so that's been one of the big priorities for us, is to make sure that we have secure campuses. As far as everybody else talking about it, I would say since Parkland, that's been a bigger case, a bigger deal for the general public to be talking about it. I think parents are concerned about their kids, and they should be. I think teachers, administrators, I think our board of directors are very concerned about safety. And we're assuring our families that we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that our schools are as safe as possible. And in general, schools are safe places.
I think one of the major focus up here was that the students had a voice. and they came out and wanted to bring this to the attention, focus on this. But I think one main thing that's coming out of it, not only the school security, is that mental health plan. And I think that's so very important. That is an area that has been very helpful for the schools, mandating that they focus on that, they have a plan put together, and those supports are in place for every student.
Now, Christina, I wanted to ask you, being a military academy, you have students who are in JROTC. We saw a student at Parkland who was a part of JROTC, giving his life to save other students. Is there some sort of mentality you talk with your students who are involved in that? What is that discussion like for them? Because many of them have that mentality of going into the military and want to help others.
Absolutely. Every student, every cadet at our academy participates in JROTC. And so it instills in them honor, leadership, integrity, citizenship, empathy for one another. And so it did not surprise me to see that young man was a JROTC individual.
Certainly. And what's the discussion with those students? Do you emphasize the, having that military mindset, helping others, or in this type of active shooter situation? What's that discussion like?
It's not just the JROTC, it's the whole child, and it's being that individual. When they hear something, they say something, they reach out and help one another. They're a part of the community, and they're a part of the solution, not the problem.
All right, thank you guys so much. Well, we have to take a quick break. We'll have final thoughts when we return. Our guests join us for our final thoughts. And Christina, I wanted to start with you. What are your final thoughts? What do you want viewers to know about charter schools and the protection of students?
I want them to know that we have in the past, and we will continue to do everything possible to make sure that our campuses are safe and secure each and every day. And we will meet the mandates that come down upon us. No matter what the cost is, we'll find the funding to make sure that happens. But to make sure that when our students step on campus, our parents continue to know that they are safe and secure.
And for you, Steve?
I think the biggest piece for me is, we want to provide a safe atmosphere for learning, because if kids aren't safe, they can't learn. And so it takes a village for that. It takes parents being vigilant, it takes students really having relationships so that they can see when something's not right or something's not wrong, whether that be inside of the classroom or the lunchroom, those kind of things. So I think being proactive is a key piece to that. I think another piece is we're going to do what we have to do to make sure that kids can learn in a safe environment. And again, we have lots of choices for that, and it's just a matter of gathering up what those choices look like and making the best decision for our school and for the students.
And moving forward, what's the biggest hurdle that you guys think you'll have to jump over to make this move smoothly?
I think we've already jumped over that hurdle, and having a plan together and having those choices, being able to move forward.
And for you?
I would say it always comes down to money. Money is a big factor in providing those choices. But like Christina said, I think those hurdles have already been crossed. It's now making those choices based on what we have.
All right, thank you guys both for joining us. Well, before we go, we want to share with you what some viewers had to say about last night's show on President Trump's selection for the next Supreme Court justice. The president delivered on a campaign promise Monday night by nominating Judge Brett Kavanaugh as the next Supreme Court justice, who will likely overturn Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision which made abortion rights legal. We went to Facebook for your thoughts. Michael says, awesome pick. Like it or not, that's exactly why we voted for him. John says, horrendous pick. Unfortunately, he will probably be confirmed after a contentious fight. The result will be the return of back alley abortions killing our young women and the end of LGBTQ rights. And Fred said if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it is because candidate Trump said he would. Voters elected Trump and he appointed a justice. Elections have consequences. Now, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. FYI, you can also watch past discussions on demand. They're also available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And thank you to the principal of the Sarasota Suncoast Academy, Steve Crump, and the executive director of the Sarasota Military Academy, Christina Bowman, for joining us this evening.